And we are live on the, what is it called? Internet? What is that stuff called? with Luma Touch. All the way over to my left is Chris Damaris. In the middle is Terry Morgan. And this is like the 10th time you've been on Final Cut Pro TV live.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
We love having you on here. Everybody's all excited. And one of the things that I want to say from the beginning is we're going to give away 3 copies of LumaFusion on today's show. Not yet. You have to watch for a while. Okay? Yes, you have to watch for it. We got a lot of things to talk about. So one of the things, let's talk about this first. Apple had an event in September. And I'm watching that and I'm going, that's LumaFusion.
Yeah.
There it is again. There it is again. I swear, did I see it 3 times?
3 times, and it's on the page for the iPad Air as well. So.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
So my question is, talk about product placement. How much did you have to pay Apple to feature LumaFusion in their stream? Because their stream gets hundreds of thousands or millions of views. How did you guys work that out? Did you buy Tim Cook lunch, or how does that work?
I'd like to do that actually, but no. That's something that Apple just does, and they like our feature there, and so they use it. Now, of course, it'd be even better if they put the name of our app in big letters on there.
Well,
but,
yeah.
We'll take what we can get.
People kept saying that we saw Final Cut Pro on the iPad. I said, no, you didn't. You didn't see Final Cut Pro. You saw LumaFusion.
Yeah, we almost talked about whether or not we should put our name in the interface, and then decided
there you go.
Might actually just take it off if we did.
Well, that's true. So when Apple, obviously they wanted to highlight a video editing app on the new iPad Air, which has USB-C, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because that's got to be a big deal. When they do feature LumaFusion, they don't ask you, right? They just do it?
There's some communication on it. I mean, they do ask permission, and so yeah, that's to use the screenshots and things like that.
Oh, okay.
You don't really know what they're going to use them for.
Yeah,
do give them permission. So.
Right. They just tell us that they want to use the app for some marketing, and then and then we sooner or later find out what that use is.
So the new iPad Air, and I bought an iPad about 2 months ago, an iPad Air about 2 months ago, but I got it like $100 off one of those sales. Somebody was having like $100 off, so I picked up one, but the new one has USB-C.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like faster transfers back and forth. Is that what happens?
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that you can just hook up any USB-C drive to the device and store and retrieve media or project archives, those kind of things off of there. And it definitely, it definitely makes storage much better on the mobile devices.
But I don't think it's. Have you tested whether it's fast enough to do a live?
We don't do live editing off of external drives yet because it can only handle about one stream of video. It's the interface or the software, whatever they're doing there, isn't quite as fast as a USB-C drive on your Mac, for example. And so we're still monitoring that. And with each new iOS release, we'll double check that and see because we'd love to have it where you could edit directly off an external drive without having to bring the media into the internal drive. And as soon as that's possible, we'll certainly do that in LumaFusion as well.
What is the reason that it's not quite as fast as a Mac? Is that the iPad or the iOS or the iPad OS or?
We don't know. And, my guess would be there might be, some factor of keeping battery usage limited, those kind of things.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So, this is something that I wouldn't be surprised to see change over time. I think it's more likely software than hardware, since most interfaces for things like USB-C are pretty standard. There's some chip they use, and then it's just a matter of the software deciding how fast it wants to use it. And hopefully that'll continue to improve.
So what do you think about Final Cut Pro 10.4.9 that just came out? There's got to be some benefit, at least to one of the features that I know of, to people who are using LumaFusion, right?
There's the biggest improvement that we'll take advantage of in the future is the new XML that allows for both proxy and original media specified in the XML. And we've got some workflows that we're working on for the future that will take advantage of that. And we think that's going to make it much easier to do workflows that go between mobile and desktop.
So just the fact that you can use, well, they finally gave us H.264 for proxies.
Right. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Well, and four different frame sizes, resolutions for both. You have 4 for H.264, and you have 4 for ProRes proxy.
Yeah.
So that's 8, and then there's also the limits they have as 1080p and something, up to. So people, if they wanted to edit something in LumaFusion, so the Fcpx ML that you already have available as an add-on, that's obviously still being developed. Now, is the Fcpx ML 1.9, that's what you're talking about, the changes in that?
Yeah, we haven't taken advantage of any of that yet, but we will be in the future for sure. And it'll just allow some cleaner workflows where, we're already giving that ability to work with both, to work with proxy media on LumaFusion and then relink to the original media on the desktop, but this would allow us to package it all together and have it automatically link up and be a much cleaner workflow where as soon as you bring it over to, Final Cut, you're already working with what effectively is the proxy and can switch anytime, and just export with the original without having to think about it. And so it'll make that workflow simpler than ever.
Unmute, I had that muted. So that makes complete sense. And the interesting thing was they introduced Fcpx ML back in the middle of May in Logic Pro 10.5. One of the notes they have, the release notes they had for Logic Pro 10.5 was Fcpx ML 1.9. And people are going, FCPX? It's only 1.8. So we just figured that 10.5 was coming, which it didn't, which 10.4.9 was coming. So that whole issue of the next version of Final Cut Pro coming out, it seems like some of these features that are in 10.4.9 could have been in 10.5, but they gave them to us a little bit early. And I'm glad, because I was hoping that they would do exactly that. Don't make us wait for something that's so far in the future. Give us what you got now. And it seems like it's exactly what they did. We got a comment from Good Morning from Canada. Limelight, I think I know who that is. And it's one of our comments. Some of the comments I'll read, some of them sometimes it gets to be too many, I really can't read them all. So do you have... Obviously, LumaFusion's always in the development cycle, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have anything upcoming?
Yeah, so I'll start by sharing what's coming in the immediate future, and then I'll let Terry talk about some things that are coming farther out. We've decided to share a little bit more of that, with people. So our next release will be our 2.4 release, and we hope to have that out within about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. I'd guess more likely 4 weeks. And that's a big one that takes advantage of some neat new features that iOS 14 has enabled. The biggest one, I would say, is a full HDR workflow. So,
wow.
So you'll now, we've always supported importing HDR footage. It's been a little limited, but it was capable of doing it, but it would always export, Rec 709.
Right.
Now with iOS or with LumaFusion 2.4 on iOS 14, you will be able to select HLG, PQ, or even master to P3 for displaying on iPads itself, and work with any media you want and go back and forth between different color spaces. Makes it really easy to work with. And we think that's a really important new feature. That HDR information will also transfer over to Fcpx ML when you move your project, to the desktop, so you can just continue working on your HDR project there. Makes it really a lot of fun. Another feature in 2.4 that's a big one is the ability to export H.265 files with transparency. So now
Really?
so now you can export, let's say you've done an animated title in LumaFusion, you could export that with transparency, either bring it back into LumaFusion to overlay or bring it into Final Cut Pro on the desktop and overlay that on a project. Have some fun with that. The third big feature in 2.4 is a new Chroma and Luma keyer, which has a bunch of new features, much better algorithm, has spill suppression, and just automatic color detection and things like that really make life a lot easier for doing chroma key. So that's another big one. And then finally, we're just taking advantage of some of the new UI elements that iOS 14 is bringing about, particularly the new color picker, which I really like. iOS 14 has a really nice color picker that's similar to the one on macOS, but I find it even a little cleaner and nicer. And so we'll take advantage of that in the new UI. So that's probably the top features in iOS 14, plus the usual cleanup and,
Well, but that's
I missed.
That's enough for the whole year. I mean, you gave us all these. I got some questions before we get Terry on.
Okay.
H.265 with transparency on an iPad.
Yes. Yeah, it's actually supported it since iOS 13.
Oh, it has.
Sometimes
Okay.
done that, like Procreate has that when you can output your screen recordings of your drawings, which our users have been using to do cool animations, bringing those into LumaFusion. So we've supported importing those since iOS 13 came out, but now we're supporting exporting them from LumaFusion as well.
So that's fantastic. And so this is in the iOS? This wasn't had anything to do with the new iPad Air that enables it?
No, it's not. No. Now, I will mention the HDR only works on iPads with a A10 processor or higher, but that's pretty old. That's from 2016 on up, basically. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I think you forgot 10-bit support.
Oh, well, HDR sort of, yeah, I guess that I implied it, but you're right. We should specifically say that the HDR export, and the full pipeline is full 10-bit support all the way through when you're using HDR. So yes, thank you. That is important.
It seems like the UFOs have landed, and we got their technology in iPads now that used to be reserved for Macs and MacBooks, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And, and you see where Apple is going, with Apple Silicon. I think we'll see more and more of that, coming across piece by piece as they, vet it for performance and capability and everything else. I think we'll see more and more of that capability on iPad.
Fantastic. So, Terry, do you want to add anything?
Well, so he talked about the things that are coming like right away. And then the next thing that you'll see is advanced keyframing with ease in and ease out, moving keyframes, Bezier curves, and all that. So this is going to be a huge improvement to what we have. We've always had keyframing, but
right.
The moves have always been linear, and that does make it. You can do a soft landing, but but you have to do it yourself. So this will make it really easy. And then, so that's a big one. And then after that, we have a few things. A new audio engine with the whole new user interface that allows you to adjust the EQ with nodes and do notch filters and that sort of thing. So the filters that we have now are great, but they're only useful if you actually understand audio and the numbers involved with that.
Yes.
So that's going to be great. We have, and with that, we'll support the AU plugins, the third-party AU plugins again, because we had taken those out because they were stopping LumaFusion from starting if they weren't built right. So now we'll have a program to verify those, I suppose, is how we're going to do it. And then two big ones. One is I'm super excited about is subtitle support. So importing.
You're kidding.
Importing an SRT file. Also being able to have English and other languages, many languages on one project. and be able to switch between those and export those as either burnt in or a sidecar file or as metadata. So, I mean, it's a full-on subtitling, or create your own subtitles in the app. So it's full-on subtitling. That's super exciting for a lot of people, but specifically journalists.
Well, it seems like everything is captioned / subtitled nowadays. I mean, even when I do a Facebook live stream, sometimes they do automatic ones they'll put up, which, of course, they're not 100% accurate.
Yeah.
I worked at the National Archives, and we had to subtitle all our YouTube streams, and they did them kind of live, 95, but they didn't quite get some of the words, especially proper names, a lot of the times.
Well, that'll be the next step, not in version 1, but the next step would be actually deciphering the audio and creating subtitles automatically. So,
you're planning on doing that too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Eventually, but not. No, I would
right.
say.
No,
not,
I understand.
Yeah. But that's the roadmap for that feature. But and then. Okay, here's the big one, Richard, is...
Wait a minute. You've already given me like 10 big ones already. What are you going to...
Big one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Multicam. So...
Wow.
Yeah.
On an iPad.
On an iPad. So, we can play already 6 tracks of 4K media on one timeline at the same time, on an iPad Pro. So... there's no problem. It's really mostly about the syncing of the audio and video, or syncing of multiple streams. And then the rest is just UI for cutting. So, how you cut between those it'll be really cool because it'll be with your finger. I want to see that. I want to see that.
Sure.
And then, the details, like, actually I picked the wrong clip. I want to swap that out, or I want to trim it. Those are all things that we already do. We just don't do them in a multicam environment. So the bulk of what we're doing is just adding this multicam environment and workflows, and then the technical part is the syncing with the timecode, syncing with audio waveforms, and being able to adjust that sync if needed. So that we're already, technically we're already there. It's just creating the environment and the workflow. So
yeah, like we always do, try to do it right so that it's easy, fun, and and has all the features people expect in a multicam workflow for the kind of workflows that they want.
Yeah.
Are you going to save anything for like around Christmas time? I mean, you're giving us all these presents, and it's only not even October yet.
Yeah, these that I mentioned will be at least Christmas, probably.
No, no, of course, right.
Yeah. But for sure, we have been super busy, and our team has been growing slowly and very methodically to be able to create more and do more. So.
Yeah, and I'll mention one other thing we've been working on that is still ongoing. Is we're working with a number of third-party companies that a lot of your users will know in the Fcpx world, to bring some of their powerful plugins to LumaFusion on the iPad. And so on the iPad, you can't just have plugins sitting out there for video. You can for audio,
right?
Video. Right. So we have to work closely with these companies, to basically integrate their technologies into LumaFusion. And we're working with a couple of them that I think will be really exciting. That'll add new workflows, and hopefully, I'm hoping by the end of the year we'll have at least the first one in place. And so that'll be a lot of fun as well.
Well, that's one of the things that I've been talking about as far as, iPad NLE is, what do I do with all my plugins?
Right.
I have literally, well, I always say over 1,000. It's not individual 1,000. It's just combination of all the ones I have and the variations they are available. There's that. When I click on the Final Cut Pro on the effects palette, it says 1,000 items, 1,007 items. So you're saying that some third-party vendors are bringing their plugins to LumaFusion?
Yeah, absolutely. And we hope to have those fairly soon, and I think they're going to be ones that people really appreciate, and will bring some real new power to LumaFusion that our customers have been asking for. So
would that be like an effects palette inside of LumaFusion? It'll be in that area?
Yeah, it'll be in the effects area, and it'll be third-party effects that'll be available. Yeah.
So one of the things that like I said, I bought an iPad Air a couple months ago, and I got a pencil. Let me tell you, that's a game changer. I mean, using an iPad with a pencil and LumaFusion, that's a completely different experience than the finger.
Yeah.
Have you gotten your Magic Keyboard yet?
No, because I have the iPad Air. They make one. It works for that new one too, but I didn't get the brand new one.
Oh, you got that. Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's another game changer right there. Oh my God.
One step at a time. Pencil. And I was someplace yesterday, and they gave me something to write my name on an iPad, and it had those that big bulbous. And I said, "Have you seen the iPad pencil that's got a pinpoint on it?" And they said, "You're kidding." I said, "No." I said, "Now it's $100 or $129 or whatever the iPad 2, I mean the Pencil 2 is." I said, "But man," and in iOS 14 they have the scribble.
Yeah.
That I use to show people, look, I write my name and boop, it's text. It turns into text. So
yeah, we definitely hope to make even better use of the pencil in the future, particularly in the effects palette, where you could do things like draw and have it just become a text layer, draw a shape and have that become a shape layer, those kind of things. We're definitely envisioning those kind of things in the future as well. I won't give any date on when we're going to do that.
No, of course.
We have it in mind.
Yeah. Mention the green. See, speaking of drawing, the green screen improvements that we've made.
Yes, yeah, I did.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. I must have been daydreaming. Sorry.
Yeah. So one of the things the pencil does is you can draw a scribbly old circle, and it'll make it a perfect circle. And you can make looks like a Calvin and Hobbes square, and it'll make a perfect square.
Right.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what they've done. That was iOS 14. So one of the things that they talked about at WWDC was Apple Silicon Mac coming out this year. They said singular. Whether it's one or more, we'll find out. So they said that iOS apps will run on Apple Silicon Macs if the developer checks a box and says it's okay.
Yeah, we check that box. So we figure, if our users want to get an Apple Silicon Mac and run LumaFusion on it, they should be more than welcome to do that.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I won't be getting the first Apple Silicon Mac because I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe a MacBook or a Mac Mini, which is already available to developers, of course. Apple made that public. So I won't be getting I'm figuring on the first one's going to be a lower powered one. It's not going to be the Mac Pro that I have sitting over here. That's for sure. That's a few years out, if even then. But I'll wait till the MacBook Pro comes out, Silicon, because I have a 2019, the 15-inch, not the 16, and I'll wait to see. There's no rush. I'll wait to see what the reviews are, what the advantages are, but that'll be interesting. Yeah. So how is that going to work as far as touch on the iPad versus non-touch on the Apple Silicon? Do you know at this point?
Yeah, we have a definite feel for that, and it's, actually Terry alluded to it with the Magic Keyboard. We've already done a lot of work in the app, to support the trackpad and keyboard, in that area, and it works, quite well. And that's basically what happens when you bring it over, to the Apple Silicon Mac, is that you're using, either the Magic Mouse or the trackpad, and using the same kind of gestures you'd expect, swiping across the mouse to do scrolling, those kind of things. And that all works fairly well. Now, we will continue to, advance the app to take more advantage of those features on the Mac in the future, so that it works as because Apple is adding new APIs to make it so that you can make sure your app works really well on the Mac, by taking advantage of a few other features. And we'll certainly be looking into those as well.
Does the fact that it's going to be available on the Mac, does that change your development of LumaFusion at all? It has to affect a little bit at least, right, or not?
Not dramatically, so a little bit. We definitely have to keep it in mind as we do development. But, we're still all about a mobile editing experience. We really do like the feeling of touch, when and being in touch with your media while you're working with it, whether it's with your finger or with a pencil. And I think we won't get away from that. Now, we'll still allow for those kind of workflows, but that won't be our primary focus. That'll still be a little bit secondary.
What do you think about that, Terry? The Mac part,
Well,
the Mac part.
I've always been like, okay, we have a mission, and our mission is to make the best mobile
Right.
editor. So, there was at one point we were dabbling with, well, should we do Mac? And I said, let's just focus on what our mission is and do that really well. But now, things have changed in that there's tools available that weren't available before, and there's systems available that allow us to still focus on what our mission is and also be there. So
I've seen some incredible videos produced with LumaFusion in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. I think you posted one today. It had some animation stuff in it or something.
That was one with Procreate and LumaFusion together. If I'm thinking of the same one, there's some amazing stuff out there.
It absolutely is. So when you get your first feature filmed on LumaFusion,
I'm waiting for someone to. I mean, there's been there's been feature length films cut for sure, but
we need that big film.
Film director coming.
Well, you need it, and Apple's always looking for that too for the Final Cut. So when you talked about Terry, when you talked about keyframe improvements, please make it so you can set a default keyframe behavior, because in Final Cut Pro for 9 years, when you do a motion in the viewer, it does this weird ease in, ease out S thing, and the picture goes. And every time I have to go back and change that to linear. Yeah. It's just frustrating. So please make the ability to set a default one when you're doing that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always been important about putting defaults in. And so I think, we'll certainly look at that. And one of my hopes is, and I don't think I've even shared this with Terry, is I would like to allow the user to save preset curves as well, and to be able to quickly select those.
There you go. Yeah, that's a great idea.
In version 1, but because I just threw that out right in the middle of it.
Of course. So, Chris, what's going on with this new audio? Is new audio that you're going to have, or?
Yeah, I mean, we've always had the audio capability in there, but we haven't exposed it in a good way. And so, we brought on a senior engineer who his background is in Mac audio, actually, and has been in it for years. And so he knows, from a technical standpoint, what needs to be done, and has and now with him on board, we have the bandwidth to do what we just haven't been able to do. So a big part of it is just providing a better user interface for, what we already have in there, so that people can quickly and easily get the results they want, rather than say, okay, what are these 30 sliders here and how do I use them?
Right. Yeah.
And then the other part of it was bringing back the, third-party audio units that provide a lot of functionality that isn't available with the standard Apple, filters. And so that'll, be another big part of it as well. And then just cleaning up areas of audio that, just needed over time. So those are the kind of things that we're working on.
I'm amazed that you can use audio units on an iPad or iPad OS.
Yeah, I really like that they have that. I wish they would do something similar for video, so that we could have, third-party video plugins without having to, do the integrations directly like we're doing now.
So I think I asked you prior, but explain to me again the difference between iOS and iPad OS. I mean, Mac OS and iPad OS. So I keep hearing, Final Cut Pro on the iPad, Final Cut Pro on the iPad. And I'm like, why would Apple feature LumaFusion 3 times if Final Cut Pro is coming to the iPad? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But people keep saying, oh, it's going to happen. So here's something that a quote that I got from Roger Bolton. He said, iOS and Mac OS are different operating systems with different libraries. There are many libraries in Mac OS that don't exist in iOS. Is that what it is?
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And honestly, the two operating systems were built very differently. One was built for the desktop. One's built, from day one on the desktop, all of its controls and everything. Now, I think there is a slow convergence. I think, obviously Apple Silicon, Mac OS running on it, the changes in iPad OS under, 14 and in Mac OS Big Sur are obviously bringing things a little closer together. But I still think we're a long ways off, if at all ever comes to the fact where they're the same. Now, I wouldn't be surprised in some future to see a Final Cut Pro on, or some variation of that on iPad. But I think we're a ways off from that. I think Apple's going to have their work cut out for them getting Final Cut working well on on Apple Silicon and having it work nicely on Mac OS and still bring in new features. So, whether they're working on it or not, I still think, I'd be surprised to see it anytime soon. And frankly, even if we do, LumaFusion has gone in directions that I don't think Apple will ever go. All of our integrations with things like Frame.io, Dropbox that we've done the work
right.
for,
right.
They're not going to have an impetus to do that. And a timeline that gives you the best of both the magnetic timeline that Final Cut has and a track-based timeline if you like, a more Premiere style environment. So we have things that I think will always differentiate us and drive a set of users that aren't the same, as Final Cut, but still give those users the ability to go to Final Cut when they want.
What do you think about that, Terry? Final Cut Pro on the iPad.
Well, I think that Chris is absolutely right. As an editor, I love our timeline, how we've embraced both the magnetic and space. It's so much more powerful, and when I'm lacking the features that provides, I actually get a little bit angry. So I think once you've tried LumaFusion, it is like, I'm going to kind of miss that if I go to Final Cut. So
absolutely.
We'll always be LumaFusion, and honestly, we don't sit around worrying about who's going to come to iPad. Generally, we just try to make the best thing we can because that's actually the only thing we can do.
That's true. Yeah. But Apple keeps featuring you in their ads, for the iPad. They feature you, and that doesn't.
Be doing that because they like us, or they could be sweetening the market. So when they come out with Final Cut, it's a market that's there. So who knows? I
don't care if Final Cut Pro comes to the iPad, one way or the other. I won't be using that specifically. I got a Mac Pro sitting over here, but let me think what I was going to say. Oh, there's things in LumaFusion that Final Cut doesn't have, and I can't imagine that an iPad version of Final Cut Pro is going to be 100% parity with the desktop version. I don't see how that can happen. No. So it's going to be a limited, if and when it comes, it's going to be a scaled down version of what you have on the desktop.
And I think it's about where you start. So we started with touch and thinking about touch and making and touch has it has good sides and bad sides, but everything that we've done has tried to take advantage of the good sides of touch. I think if you come about it the opposite direction, you're just going to be fighting and fighting and fighting to get there when we started there. So I think it's going to be fine.
No, I'm sure it's going to be fine. I mean, I always bring up there's 5 or 6 features that LumaFusion has that Final Cut does not have. The magnetic and also locking tracks is one. You have the little mini timeline under the viewer, which I love. I love that. You have an audio mixer, which I like that as well. You have the ability to color code clips. Please. I love that feature. And you can sort by the color. So if I have dialogue clips, and I have them all, I'm going to make this person red in the dialogue and this person blue. You can search by red. Yeah. And all the clips come up that are color-coded red.
Yeah. And I think, our effects are just way quicker to create an effect in LumaFusion with touch and layering the effects and keyframing than it is in. It would take me hours to do something I can do in a few minutes in LumaFusion. And I don't know why that is, except for that it's designed for touch, and that just makes it fast. And
Apple has said over and over again, we are not merging Mac OS and iOS, no matter what you think. Now, the downside to that is Steve Jobs also he said, why would anybody want to look at a video on a little screen like an iPhone at one point? So take that with a grain of salt, But Mac OS and iOS, at least not in 2020, they're not merging, and probably not 2021. I mean, yes, they're going to have some icons might be the same, and some of the things may start looking alike. I mean, have you both tried Big Sur?
Yeah, I'm using Big Sur on one of my machines here for testing, and I do like it. It has a nice.
I do too. Yeah, I do too.
It's pleasant. And I think what Apple's always been about is an ecosystem that feels cohesive. You know, the little things that we do at home, airdropping pictures to each other, you know, things like that.
That's fantastic.
Are so ubiquitous on Apple. And this is just part of that, making it all feel part of one ecosystem, even though there are focuses on each platform. You know, the watch has its focuses on health. The iPad has its focuses on quick and easy content creation. And the desktop has its focus on complete control of everything. And I think those will continue to be there. And I think those are good things to have, you know, and good differences to have for the platform for what you're working on at the time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So listen, subtitling is big news when it comes. I mean, on an iPad? And you're going to support SRTs?
Yeah, we'll support SRTs, Web VTT. You know, we're definitely going to make it a full support, like we've always done with our features. Make sure that we get all the standards that are used in the industry, so that, you know, users can do the workflows they want.
So we have 3 licenses for LumaFusion to give away. I'm not sure how to give them away. Anybody that's listening live, I don't know, say something in the chat, and we'll pick some people. It's something clever. Just don't say pick me, pick me. One of the people in the last one of the videos we did a couple weeks ago, I gave away some things, and somebody said, "Do you want me to wash your clothes?" And if I win. So, just if you want to win a copy of LumaFusion, I got 3 to give away today. Thanks to Luma Touch, Terry and Chris. Thanks to them. We'll give 3 copies away today. I'll get your information live. I have to watch the video back and then go back and contact the people, because I have YouTube, Periscope, and Facebook all coming in as comments.
Right.
So that's quite. Those are quite a lot of just amount of features that you have coming in. The new things.
Yeah, we've been, you know, like Terry mentioned before, you know, we've been building up the team, and it's really made a difference in being able to work on more features in parallel and work on both long-term and short-term features much better than we ever did before. And that's been a really big change, you know, for our team. But we're still keeping it small and tight and finding the right people to do the right things. So it's a really good feeling I have right now that, you know, we've built a good team, both on the engineering side and marketing, design, and QA, that are all just working together and we have a lot of fun together. So it's nice.
That's the main thing. I mean, it was sad when we had to go work from home, because we were really enjoying that FaceTime together. But we picked it right up, because we were already using Slack for all our communications, and it wasn't really, you know, at trouble at all for us to move home.
I am really surprised that Apple has not moved into the Zoom territory with all these applications. Like you said, Slack. I don't even know what Slack is. I know what Zoom is. We're doing, you know, this video thing with both Ecamm Live, Restream.io, and Skype. I'm really surprised Apple has not moved into this area of video conferencing and multiple people. Maybe they're working on it. Who knows? But Tim Cook recently said he has been very impressed with the people that have been working at Apple, that have been working remotely.
Yeah. No, it's impressive that they were able to do that. Such a big company, you know, where they had put a lot of focus in moving everybody close together in the new Apple Park, and
now
suddenly go out. You know, that is impressive that they were able to make it work well. So, you know, yeah.
It's funny how fast you can pivot when you don't have a choice. Like we could have talked about this for months. Should we work at home? We never would have done it. But from one day to the next, we're all at home. That's it.
You're right. Well, when I worked at the National Archives, not the government, but the contractor didn't prefer that anybody work from home. However, when there was a snowstorm coming, because I'm not going to drive into Washington when there's a snowstorm coming, or if I had to do a lot of work to get something ready, like over the weekend, I'm not going to go into DC on the weekend. I would bring work home and I would do it. And of course, they would always appreciate it. And then some of the project managers says, "Can you do this?" I said, "Well, I can do it at home. I can't do it in here because, you know, I have better equipment at home, better plugins." "Oh, okay, that's fine. Go ahead and work from home." But now it's like everybody's expecting. I mean, that's 50% of the people when you go for jobs. They said, you can work from home.
Right.
That's one of the good things for me.
And tools like Slack and Microsoft has one called Teams that's similar. They really enable that because Slack is more than, well, it actually starts as a communications app that has channels where everybody can post comments or files. And we can set up channels for development, for quality assurance, for what I'm doing for fun, where people post funny things that they've been doing. And so it's a great way to communicate. And then you can do, live meetings as well on it. So it really changes the dynamic where you can still have a little bit of that, impromptu kind of conversations, even remotely.
Absolutely. So we got a comment from Alexis May that says, will LumaFusion ever support loudness normalization? How can I normalize audio to minus 24 LUFS, L-U-F-S? Is that something that may be coming or maybe a plugin?
Yeah, I do hope we'll have that. I think with some of the audio unit plugins, there probably is one, and we'll have to look into that and see if there's one available. If not, I think that's something, that in the future, at least we can do ourselves if it's not available. So, yeah, I think that's certainly a possibility.
So we got a comment from Eric Emmerich. He says, clever. I haven't said anything clever in years. Eric, let me know if you don't have LumaFusion yet. If you have it, I'm not going to give you the code. If you don't have it, we'll give you a copy. Eric Emmerich. But you have to be honest now. If you already have it, don't waste the code. I mean, whatever I don't give away today, I'll give away in another time, another episode of Final Cut Pro TV Live. So Eric says he has it. Thank you for being honest. Okay. So we got to give away 3 copies of LumaFusion today on today's show. If you don't have a copy, please say something in the comments. Clever, whatever, something funny. Make us laugh. We like laughing. I know I do. So what about, do you have any plans in the next year to be at a live conference of any sort? Like,
I don't.
No, I don't even want to get on an airplane.
Yeah,
NAB moved to October, as you know.
Right.
Las Vegas moved to October, but
yes.
I still, I think that's cutting it too close for us, and I think we'll probably skip it this year.
Huh. Speaking of NAB, so last year you went to the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit.
Yes.
Yeah.
This year, of course, it's online. It's called the Fcpx Global Virtual Summit. So this time it's all online. But interestingly, and I talked about this before they actually announced it, Apple is going to do a presentation.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
See what Apple has to say, because it's going to be in November, because FMC is involved with NAB New York through October.
Right.
So it's going to be, I think, on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in November. Apple's presentation. I'm going to be very curious, because November's a good time to announce things. I mean, I'm thinking, okay, maybe they'll announce / preview the Silicon Mac, the ARM-based Mac. Maybe they'll do that there. And maybe they'll have, an update to Final Cut Pro to go along with that, whatever. I mean, we already know that Final Cut works on the ARM-based Mac. Apple said that publicly at WWDC. That's not a surprise. It's Universal 2. All their apps are Universal 2 at this point. So that wouldn't be a surprise, but I'm thinking maybe Silicon Mac, here's a new version of Final Cut. Maybe. I mean, at some point they're going to do a new version.
We'll be attending virtually anyway.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
that's the one thing I do miss. I'm not a big fan of going, working the shows because it's a lot of work to set up for. But
Sure it is.
I definitely miss the in-person connections.
Absolutely.
Final Cut FCPX Creative Summit was particularly a lot of fun last year, and I enjoyed it, and we made some really good contacts, and I will miss that. So
yeah, that was probably our best experience at a show. Just in general, learning and meeting people, and it's small enough that it's really the community there, not such a wide audience. So
Yes. NAB is everything. It's a shotgun. The Fcpx Creative Summit is just Final Cut and associated hardware, software vendors and plugin makers and things. I mean, you go across, I was there 4 times. This would have been the 5th time this year. You go across the courtyard to Le Boulanger, the place I always go there in the morning, and you have breakfast with everybody. You have a bagel and coffee, and you talk about Final Cut Pro or whatever you want to talk about for the day. And it's just like a little walk. You just walk right over here. And then, of course, lunches and dinners and all the sessions, and then going to Apple Campus. Boy, that's always a highlight for me. Because I'm on the East Coast. I'm not on West Coast.
Yeah.
So it will all be shared online from the West Coast. I'm not sure if you mean Gert says that. Gert, do you mean the Creative Summit? Not sure. Probably. And I think we have another winner here. Ernest White says, Final Cut Pro TV Live is my favorite show. I love it. Okay. Ernest, let me know if you don't have a copy of LumaFusion. We'll get you a copy after this show is over. And Garrett says, I'm happy they will stream it. So the Creative Summit is $199 for all the sessions. You're going to have the same sessions. Mark Spencer, Steve Martin, all the people that are typically teaching. The schedule's not filled out yet. They're still filling it out. But I noticed it did say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So maybe, I don't know if that's preliminary or whatever. So we'll find out.
Yeah. Interesting. We'll have to see how that turns out. I'm curious.
They have, it's the most, it always has been the most exciting Final Cut Pro centric event for me, hands down, every year. And I got to meet you in person, but I also met you at NAB though as well. I mean,
yeah, it was great. I Justine there. Well, she's
right.
Really fun to listen to, and she knew a lot about Final Cut Pro.
Yes. Yes. No, I understand. But I had the privilege of meeting her the year before that at the Creative Summit, and I was impressed with her then. She was also a keynote speaker 2 years, or now 3 years before, 3 years now, and she knew a lot about Final Cut. And she taught herself, and she said she did things wrong, and she whatever. I taped that interview. I'll probably put some of it up this year. So since people can't go to the Creative Summit, I've been there 4 times. I'm going to post some behind the scenes things, videos that I have, which I also did at NAB. And I'm going to post some of those videos so people can actually see what it was like, including the big event they had, the event when everybody gets food and everybody mingles with all the developers. Because you guys had your booth there last year.
Right.
And I talked a friend of mine, Michael Yanovich, into buying LumaFusion. He was
that was funny.
It was funny. And I have him talking about that. He's a character. We were sitting next to each other at the Apple presentation at the Apple campus, Michael and I. He's been on the show as well. So we got another comment. Ernest said he doesn't have it, so now Ernest has won a copy.
Nice.
We got a hi from Limosi, Cyprus, if I'm saying that right. Limassoi, Limosi, Cyprus. I don't know if I got any listeners from Cyprus before.
Cool.
So you have revealed a lot of things today. I have to I have to watch the video to remember everything. But you have 2.4s coming out in a month or 6 weeks or whatever. That's the big thing. And then I really like that you always tell us things that are coming beyond the next release, because that's nice. I mean, we don't get that too often. I know we don't get it from Apple for sure. Once in a while. I mean, they did show us the social media thing at WWDC.
Okay.
In Final Cut. They did show us that, so.
Yeah. It can bite you if you say.
I understand.
But we're on track for all these things, so it's good.
Absolutely. So how are we going to give away some more copies of this before you guys leave?
Well, let's see. That's a good question. I was wondering if the person who asked about whether we would have the noise reduction, I'm assuming they already have LumaFusion, but if they don't.
Let me check.
Yeah.
Okay, that was Alexis May. That's a good one. So Alexis May, if you don't have a copy of LumaFusion, make a post in the comments. And if you don't have a copy, you now are going to have a free copy, courtesy of LumaTouch.
It looks like we do get a lot of LumaFusion users listening to this, so maybe next time we'll have to bring some story blocks or Fcpx ML export codes.
Well, there you go. There you go.
That's what we should have, the XML codes.
Absolutely. So, yeah, the NAB for next year, I'll see. You know, you don't have to make your mind up now.
Yeah.
It's a year from now, you know, so we'll see. I really miss it.
Yeah.
I really miss the 2 times that I went to NAB. I mean, 2 times a year, NAB and Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. I really miss the in-person stuff. So the first time I went to NAB, I talked to people that have, you know, been there, obviously, and get some tips from them. I was meticulous about washing my hands after shaking hands, about not touching my face. This was years ago I've been doing that, and getting plenty of sleep and rest and plenty of water. But I wash I talk to people, shake hands. Then I go to the restroom, wash my hands, soap and water, wash my hands, and then I'm ready for another round of shaking of hands.
I think if we go back, we'll move to bowing maybe.
I agree.
So, yeah, we'll find some new things, and instead of candy at our booth, we'll have a hand sanitizer. I don't know. We'll have to figure that out as we go.
Right.
Get hand sanitizer.
Yeah, I forget that. Yeah, that's right.
There's actually a local distillery here where I live, and they switched over to hand sanitizer during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, here you go. Well, look at this. Look at this. This is an interesting comment, and I can certainly possibly do this. Alexis May says, I have a copy of LumaFusion, but would like Fcpx ML export option.
All right, I'll tell you what. We will get you a code for that, Alexis. Yeah, so we'll do that.
There you go.
I'll get it to you, Richard, and you can pass it on.
I will. Now, Alexis, you are on YouTube, so you have to contact me on Twitter or contact me on YouTube or Facebook, Richard Taylor TV, because I'm not sure how to contact you on YouTube. I guess I don't know how to do that on YouTube. So Twitter, Richard Taylor TV, or Facebook, or else just leave your
You know, I forgot to mention, you know, the Magic Keyboard. Well, obviously you know it, but I know you don't have one yet. But
No, I do not.
It is super cool to add, you know, basically the touchpad to LumaFusion. You can scroll around the timeline. It just makes it feel more like what you're used to if you've been editing a long time. But also, we've come out with this keyboard overlay for the smart keyboards, and in a couple weeks our Magic Keyboard overlay will be available through editor's keys. So I just wanted to mention that, because boy, with the combination of a keyboard overlay telling you where all the shortcuts are,
right,
the touch screen, it's like if you think it, you can do it. It's super cool.
Well, the other thing about the touch iPad, kids that are growing up, that's all they know.
Yeah.
They don't know the Mac. They don't know MacBooks. They know iPhones and especially iPads. So the ones that are coming up, that's all they're going to know.
Right.
You know, I have a 7-year-old who does school on the iPad, and I sit into his school because he's 7. And the other day I heard one of the other children who is 7 telling the teacher to mute her microphone. Not talking, because it's like, but they're just learning this stuff so fast, and they're talking about pin this person or pin that person. Like they just picked up on the lingo and all the stuff to go along with it.
Absolutely. It's you know, everything obviously changed the last 6 months, but for me, as being a freelancer, I'm really glad that the people are accepting work from home.
Yeah.
Because I used to drive to Washington. I'd pick up a hard drive and then edit, and then I'd drive it back, or, I drive halfway, then take the subway halfway. I am so glad that I'm not taking that subway since last year, because that would have been a night. It's like sardine cans. It's not. I went it early in the morning. I got to DC at 6 o'clock in the morning, so it wasn't that bad. I didn't go during rush hour, but the idea of being on that subway, back in that last March, nah.
I mean, it would have been nice if we could have made this evolution to working wherever you are without COVID.
Yes, it would have.
It did kick us in the behind to get us to this point where it is okay to work where you are, and especially edit where you are. We've been on about that for years now.
No, absolutely. And then the LumaFusion on the iPad is the perfect way to do that. If if you're on a subway or something, don't do it when you're driving. Please don't.
Please do.
Because I drove about 45 minutes to College Park, Maryland, then I took the subway straight down to the National Archives from there. So I had a 30-minute ride both directions, and I had, sometimes I'd bring my laptop and do some things, or the phone. So your users are they still using the iPhone about 50% or more?
I've looked at the statistics lately. I would say our users are about 60 to 65% iPad, and the rest are iPhone. So it seems like this last year more iPad. Apple's done a lot in the iPad space as far as providing powerful iPads at a low cost, and I think that's driven more people to use the iPad. Where LumaFusion really shines with having a little more space, to see what you're working with.
Right. So the other interesting thing is they haven't announced the new iPhones yet. It's supposed to be in October, and there's supposed to be an iPad Pro announcement, perhaps, as well.
Yeah, the rumors are out there. Well, sorry, Terry.
Is that in October that there's an iPad?
They haven't officially announced it, but they're obviously going to announce it. I mean, they didn't announce iPhones in September, so obviously they're going to do a iPhone event in October, in the second week or so, whenever. And there's also rumors of a new iPad Pro. And the other thing is, I'm thinking maybe, are they going to announce the first Silicon Mac with just a press release, or are they going to do something at an actual event?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a November event for that.
Exactly. Yeah. And what's in November? The Fcpx Global Summit. See, that's what I'm thinking. Those two things might coincide. I mean, Apple has traditionally, at the Creative Summit, 3 out of the last 4, they've had Final Cut Pro updates right at the summit. And I mean, 10.4.4 was a big update, and 10.4 they announced at the summit, and 10.3 they announced at the summit. So 10.3, 10.4, and 10.4.4, all 3 were big feature updates they announced at the Creative Summit. They didn't do it last year, but maybe this year they might have something. Apple Silicon, a preview of future version of Final Cut.
So that'll be fun.
So Garrett says, I'm amazed how well it runs on my iPhone 11. Still wondering how Apple will advance with external storage. iPhone uses Lightning, but the iPads are switching to USB-C. I think the iPhones are not this year, perhaps, but I think they're going to switch probably to USB-C too.
Yeah, I would love to see, I'd love to see Apple put just both ports on there for a little while, have a USB-C and I don't think that'll happen, but that would be the ultimate way to do it,
I guess there's no way to make an adapter from one to the other, right?
I think it's probably possible.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you could get the performance either way that you'd want out of it, but I would think it's possible.
Because my Mac Pro has Thunderbolt 3 ports, and I have an adapter to Thunderbolt 2, and USB, of course. In fact, some other things.
Apple does have an adapter that goes from Lightning for their HDMI adapter has a USB-C port on it as well. So.
Right.
Oh, I have one of those, and I bought it for LumaFusion, so I could have my hard drive attached when I'm charge it or something. I forget why I got it. Yeah, that's right. They do.
So it is possible. Yeah. It's just not as convenient as having it built in.
No, absolutely. I listen. This is one of the worst design things I've ever seen Apple design. Not because of the functionality, because of this charging port.
Yeah. I know,
What are you doing, Apple? I mean, that is the most ridiculous place to put a charging port. And I have a lot of Apple equipment, and I love Apple. The other thing is the remote for Apple TV is horrible.
That's the worst thing in the world. Yeah,
it's horrible.
It's so fidgety. I can never. My wife won't touch it, and even I'm like, oh, let me pick. Nope.
I know.
Yeah.
It may have worked on paper, the slide, but slide doesn't work. Give me a physical button. Hopefully, if they have a new Apple TV, that'll be resolved. I hope so.
I guess there's a third-party remote that has buttons on it that you can get that works reasonably well. So,
or just use the phone. Phone seems to be better. You have a bigger area and stuff and all that. I really appreciate both of you coming on today.
Thanks so much for having us. We appreciate your having us on board again.
Do you have anything else you want to say in closing? Luma-touch.com is your Facebook page. You can ask questions on Facebook. I mean, not Facebook, your regular web page. And your Facebook, you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, etc.
Yep. I'd like to just say, we do have a support team that do answer support emails daily. So if you are having a problem, instead of going to Twitter or wherever, check our FAQs. And then if you can't find anything, go to email support@luma-touch.com, and we'll help you out.
Yeah, you'll be amazed. Our support team is pretty incredible. They're often creating videos for customers, showing them how to do things. Even we try to guide people to the existing tutorials we have, but if it's something special, they'll take the time to do it. And we have a really neat team that really is dedicated to making sure our customers can use the app and get the most out of it.
Yeah, not just I'm having a problem, but how do I do this? What's the best way? We're happy to answer that.
So we have another comment. It says, you see any updates for Mac software until Big Sur comes out? Should be close to being released, hopefully next month. I'm running the public beta of Big Sur. I really like it, but there's a problem for me because there's like 4 or 5 apps that don't work on Big Sur that I absolutely. Hedge is one. I use Hedge all the time. Sound Source, which is my one that I use for switching sound sources in the Mac. I don't know if Ecamm is officially supported in Big Sur yet. So hopefully when the public version comes out, all these apps will be updated. At that point, you can download a new version. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, they'll get there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So luma-touch.com for the website. You can get support there. On Twitter, it's @LumaTouch.
Yep.
Correct? And Facebook, just search for LumaTouch.
Or LumaFusion, yeah.
Either one.
Yep.
And then we've got all those tutorials from Photo Joseph on our YouTube channel. So,
can you ask Photo Joseph to do a green screen of that red chair?
That would be fun.
So I can use it for a background, and I can be on the red chair.
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. It is. It's pretty majestic.
Yeah.
So we got a comment from Garrett that says, "Thank you for the new developments and excellent service. I used a copy on my iPhone. I used he already has a version on his iPhone and iPad."
Nice.
Eric Emmerich says, "Ecamm works on Big Sur." Excellent. That's good to know. Because it's not the operating system I like better than Catalina, but some apps, I got to have all these apps running.
Yeah.
There's another one, Little Snitch, I use. I'm not sure. That's it prevents outgoing communications.
Oh.
Yeah, it prevents. You can select who has outgoing, not incoming communications, but outgoing. So an app can't, download on your Mac and start sending information back. It prevents that. You have to approve them. So that's another one that I don't know if they got a new version or not, but it's a couple of them. There's like 4 or 5 for me that's preventing me from using Big Sur full time, but I like it. I've run Final Cut Pro on it. It's doing well. Yeah. Thank you both. Have you had coffee? Forgot to ask you.
I've had 2 cups.
Okay.
My share.
So very, very good. It's very good. Thank you so much for stopping by. Terry Morgan, Chris Damaris from Luma Touch and LumaFusion. We'll talk to you again. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Richard. Thanks for having us.